How you doing today? My name is Doc Marcel. What's your name?
Marcel.
Okay, so today I'll be doing some reflex maneuvers on you. Anything that hurts, please let me know. If you have any problems, please let me know as well. Okay?
Okay.
Alright. So I'll be starting with the jaw jet. Alright, now you close your eyes for me. Alright, relax your jaw. Okay. Now I'm gonna go to the biceps reflex. Alright, can you flex a little bit for me? You can relax. Okay. This one. Alright, can you flex for me again? And relax. Alright, now I'll be doing the triceps reflex. Can you relax your arm for me? Okay. Now I'm going down to the patellar reflex. Are you gonna relax again? Okay. Now I'm going down to the Achilles reflex. Alright, now I'm gonna do the dendritic maneuver on the patellar tendon. So I'm gonna have you clench your fingers together and pull them out. Alright, one more time for me. Alright. And now I'll do one upper. So I'm gonna have you clench your feet together for me. And I'll have you relax your arms. Alright. I'm doing a brachioradialis. Alright, now we're going to move into the visceral reflexes. So first I'm starting off with the carotid sinus. Alright, so with this one I should see a reduction in the heart rate as I press on the carotid artery. Alright, and the afferent pathway is the glossopharyngeal nerve. The integrated center is the medulla. And the efferent pathway is the vagus onto the oculocardiac reflex. So with this one, we'll see a reduction in the heart rate as I press on the eye. All right, relax for me. And I'll be using right here. All right, and the afferent pathway is the trigeminal nerve. The integrated center is the medulla. And the efferent pathway is the vagus. Now we'll be performing the direct light reflex. So just relax for me. All right, and direct light response is the expected response is the ipsilateral pupil constriction. The afferent nerve is the cranial nerve 2. The efferent nerve is the ipsilateral nerve, cranial nerve 3, and the integration center is the mid. Okay, now we'll be doing the indirect light response. All right, and for the indirect light response, the expected response is the contralateral pupil constriction. The sensory nerve is the cranial nerve 2. The motor nerve is contralateral nerve, cranial nerve 3. And the integration center is the mid. All right, for this one, we're doing the ciliospinal reflex. This one, we want to see the pupil to dilate when I pinch on the base of the neck at the cervical sympathetic chain. So the afferent pathway is the cervical sympathetic chain. The integrated center is T1, T2 spinal cord. And the efferent pathway is the cervical sympathetic chain as well. Now we're going to move on to the accommodation reflex. So this one we're going to see a convergence of the eyes with the pupillary dilation. All right, so if you look at the pen for me, I'm going to go straight down. Okay, good. Okay, so for this, the afferent pathway is the optic nerve 2, The integrated center is occipital cortex, and the efferent pathway is oculomotor nerve 3. All right, now moving on to the superficial reflexes. First, I'll start off with the gag reflex. I will not be presenting that today, but with the gag reflex, I'll be using a tongue depressor to push to the back of the throat to make the patient gag. The afferent pathway is the glossopharyngeal nerve. The integrated center is the medulla, and the efferent pathway is the vagus nerve. Okay, now I'll be performing the intrascapular reflex. So now we're going to do a plantar reflex, and we want to see the toes curl up. Abdominal reflex. Okay, now we're going to do the pathological reflexes. We're going to start with the Babinski reflex. Now we're going to go on to the Schaefer reflex. Now we're going to move on to the Gordon reflex. The Chadot reflex. The Oppenheim reflex. Ankle clonius reflex. Hoffman's reflex. Now we're going to move on to the Tromner's reflex.